This is a story that absolutely rocked the world of professional sports. It's a case that has it all: jealousy, obsession, and a pretty unbelievable international manhunt that followed the tragic murder of cycling star Moriah Wilson. So, let's get right into it.
Okay, so it all starts with the crime scene, which was just as baffling as it was brutal. When police showed up, there were zero signs of a break-in. Nothing was stolen, no sign of a struggle, just 3 fatal gunshots. It was pretty clear right away this wasn't random. This was a targeted killing.
We're in Austin, Texas. The date is May 11th, 2022. The city's whole cycling community is buzzing. Athletes are in town for a huge race. But that night, everything was about to change for them, forever. And right at the center of this whole tragedy was Moriah "Mo" Wilson. She was just 25 years old, a name that up until that day was only known for her incredible talent, her promise, and just this radiant spirit. To really truly understand the weight of this loss, you have to get who Moriah Wilson was. She wasn't just another athlete on the scene. She was an absolute phenomenon. This quote, it's simple, it's heartbreaking, and it really says it all. She was on this incredible upward climb, a true rising star whose life was just cut short.
Moriah grew up riding in Vermont, and she'd become one of the most dominant forces in gravel cycling, which, by the way, is a ridiculously punishing sport. She was in Austin for a major race, at the absolute top of her game, and from everything you hear, she was loved by literally everyone who knew her.
So, how could something like this even happen? Well, the investigation pretty quickly honed in on a motive that's as old as time itself, and the people who got caught in its web.
So here's the dynamic. You've got Kaitlin Armstrong, a yoga instructor, who is in a relationship with a professional cyclist named Colin Strickland. Now, Strickland had a brief relationship with Moriah Wilson before he got back together with Armstrong, and that connection, as brief as it was, would become the trigger for a deadly obsession.
And this is the really crucial part. Armstrong's entire motive was based on something that just wasn't true. She convinced herself that Strickland and Wilson were still seeing each other, even though they weren't. This fiction that she built up in her own mind just fueled this rage that she could not let go of. So on the night of the murder, Moriah gets to her friend's apartment just to take a shower before they go to dinner. But Kaitlin Armstrong was already there, just lying in wait. She follows Moriah inside, fires 3 shots, and runs. It was calculated, it was cold, and it was devastatingly quick. And what happened next is what turned this awful, tragic case into a global sensation. Just as police were closing in, their prime suspect pulled off a pretty unbelievable escape. I mean, this is the exact moment the case just takes this wild left turn. Investigators finally have their suspect. They know who they're looking for, but it's too late. Kaitlin Armstrong had vanished into thin air.
And her escape wasn't impulsive. Oh no, this was meticulously planned. She sold her car really fast for a big pile of cash, got her hands on a fake ID, and then booked a one-way ticket straight to Costa Rica. She was so methodical, always one step ahead of them.
For 43 days, 43! One of the most wanted women in America was a ghost, successfully dodging a nationwide and then an international search. And while she was on the run, Armstrong was actively trying to build a completely new identity. She actually had plastic surgery, a nose job, to change how she looked. She was telling people she was a traveling nurse. She was trying to completely erase Kaitlin Armstrong from existence. When U.S. Marshals finally did track her down to this hostel in Santa Teresa, Costa Rica, the whole scene was just surreal. They found her tanned, relaxed, and according to the reports, she seemed totally unconcerned that she'd just been caught. So Armstrong was brought back to the U.S. to face the music. And while the legal battle did come to an end, the case left behind this trail of haunting questions that, honestly, the verdict just couldn't answer. In November of 2023, the gavel finally came down. Kaitlin Armstrong was found guilty of murder, and she was sentenced to 90 years in prison. But getting justice for Moriah, that doesn't erase the troubling questions that are still hanging over this whole case. First, you've got to wonder about the access and the planning. How did someone from totally outside the tight-knit world of elite sports manage to track down and attack a star athlete with such deadly precision? And then there's the question of responsibility. The guy at the center of all of this, Colin Strickland, he knew about Armstrong's jealousy. So why wasn't Moriah warned? Why didn't anyone tell her she might be in real danger? And really, this is the final, most profound question this case leaves us with. You have this beloved woman, celebrated for her talent and her strength, and her entire future was just stolen in a matter of minutes. It's just a chilling reminder of the destructive power of jealousy and obsession.